In the intricate world of modern dating and relationship psychology, nothing is quite as captivating or as incredibly frustrating as the man who is deeply in love but desperately trying to hide it. It is a classic human dilemma, a fierce internal war where logic and emotional self-defense clash violently against an overwhelming magnetic attraction. For a variety of reasons, whether rooted in a fear of vulnerability, past heartbreak, or timing constraints, he may resolve to keep his emotions firmly under lock and key. He convinces himself that he can maintain absolute control, suppress his desires, and interact with you without ever tipping his hand. He builds walls, carefully scripts his words, and wears a mask of casual indifference in a brave attempt to protect his peace and his pride. However, human psychology operates on a subconscious level that logic simply cannot override forever. While the conscious mind can dictate words, it cannot fully control the body's involuntary, evolutionary responses to attraction. When a man is genuinely falling for someone against his better judgment, the sheer volume of his emotional investment begins to leak through the cracks of his stoic exterior. This internal struggle creates a fascinating paradox, where his behavior becomes entirely contradictory. He pulls away only to bounce back stronger. He insists he wants to be single while acting like a fiercely protective partner. And he swears he is detached while remembering microscopic details about your life that everyone else overlooks. He is locked in a psychological battle against his own heart. And despite his absolute best efforts to remain a fortress of solitude, he is actively and visibly losing. Understanding these subtle, conflicting behavioral signals is the key to decoding his true intent. For anyone on the receiving end of this mixed behavior, it can feel like navigating an emotional maze without a map. One day he is warm and intensely focused, and the next he is distant and guarded. It is easy to misinterpret this hot and cold routine as a lack of interest, but in reality, the exact opposite is true. The intensity of his emotional friction is proof of the intensity of his feelings. He isn't playing games with you. He is playing a high-stakes game with himself, terrified of the profound impact you have on his life. When you know exactly what psychological markers to look for, from the lingering weight of his gaze to the involuntary shifts in his physical posture, the narrative changes completely. You begin to realize that his silence isn't a sign of emptiness, but rather a dam holding back a massive reservoir of emotion that is on the absolute verge of bursting. The following breakdown of behavioral signals will pull back the curtain on this hidden internal war, revealing the undeniable signs that his logical defenses have failed, his heart has taken over, and his total surrender is completely inevitable. The sudden shift, he distances himself but constantly checks in. When a man is trying to fight an intense attraction, his logic and his emotions engage in a constant tug of war. To regain control over his vulnerabilities, his initial instinct is often to pull away and create physical or emotional distance. He might take longer to reply to messages or skip social gatherings where he knows you will be present, trying to convince himself that he can easily extinguish the spark. However, this self-imposed exile never lasts long because his emotional attachment pulls him right back. He will inevitably break his own silence with a casual text, an Instagram interaction, or a random question just to gauge your availability. He desperately wants to know what you are doing and who you are with, proving that despite his best efforts to stay away, his thoughts are completely dominated by your presence. The intense lock. He holds eye contact just a second too long. The eyes are the ultimate giveaway of subconscious desire, and no matter how strictly he tries to guard his words, his gaze will betray him. When a man is losing the battle against his feelings, he will frequently find himself staring at you across a crowded room. If you happen to catch him in the act, instead of instantly looking away like a casual acquaintance would, he will lock eyes with you for a lingering, heavy moment before breaking the connection. This extra second of eye contact reveals a deep, unspoken longing that he is desperately trying to suppress. It is an involuntary physical reaction. His brain is trying to look away to hide his secret, but his emotional attachment is too strong, forcing him to drink in your image for as long as he possibly can. The jealous flare, his mood, instantly shifts when other men are around. Jealousy is an incredibly difficult emotion to hide, especially when a man feels he has no official right to claim your attention. You will notice an immediate change in his energy, posture, and facial expressions the exact moment another man enters your orbit or is mentioned in conversation. He might suddenly become incredibly quiet, cross his arms, or use a sharp, sarcastic tone of voice to mask his underlying discomfort. This sudden mood shift happens because his evolutionary, protective instincts are clashing violently with his decision to keep his feelings hidden. Seeing you smile at someone else triggers a fear of loss that he cannot control. Even though he is actively trying to avoid a relationship, the thought of another guy winning your heart drives him absolutely crazy. The mirror effect. He subconsciously copies your gestures and tone. Mirroring is a deeply ingrained psychological phenomenon that occurs when two people share a powerful, unacknowledged emotional bond. When a man is entirely captivated by you, his subconscious mind takes over during your interactions, forcing his body language to sync perfectly with yours. If you lean forward over the table, he will lean forward too. If you take a sip of your drink or laugh, he will mimic those exact movements mere seconds later. He might even start adopting your specific slang phrases, speech patterns, or vocal inflections without realizing it. This physical synchronization is clear proof that his focus is entirely locked on you. His body is openly declaring the deep connection and alignment that his conscious mind is still too terrified to admit out loud. The memory bank. He remembers the tiny details everyone else forgets. A man who is fighting his feelings will listen to you with a level of intensity that is rare. While casual friends might nod along and forget your conversation by the next day, this man stores everything you say into a private mental vault. Weeks or even months later, he will casually bring up a minor detail you shared, like your favorite childhood candy, a specific fear, or a random passing comment about your schedule. This level of hyperfocus happens because everything relating to you holds immense value to him. He cannot help but invest his mental energy into analyzing and remembering your world. Recalling these microscopic details shows that even when he pretends to be detached, he is paying closer attention to you than anyone else in your life. The protective shield. He instinctively positions himself to keep you safe, even when a man is desperately trying to suppress his romantic feelings. His primal instinct to protect the woman he cares about will always break through his defenses. You will notice this behavior in how he positions his body. Whenever you are walking together or navigating a busy environment, he will automatically place himself between you and oncoming traffic on a sidewalk, guide you through a dense crowd by placing a hand near your lower back without quite touching you, or keep a watchful eye on your surroundings. If you are out late, he will insist on walking you to your car or demand that you text him the exact moment you arrive safely at home. He might try to pass these actions off as simple, everyday politeness, but the intense, hypervigilant nature of his care reveals a deep emotional investment he cannot hide. The nervous slip. His confident persona melts away whenever you're near. A man might normally be the most charming, charismatic, and articulate person in his social circle, but the moment you walk into the room, his cool exterior completely shatters. When he is losing the battle against his hidden emotions, your presence induces a high-stakes, nervous tension that he cannot comfortably manage. You will catch him fidgeting with his phone, fixing his clothes, running his hands through his hair, or clearing his throat excessively. His sentences might get tangled up, or he might laugh a little too loudly at a joke that wasn't particularly funny. This sudden clumsiness and anxiety happen because he cares immensely about what you think of him. He is terrified of saying the wrong thing and exposing his true feelings, and the immense pressure of keeping that secret makes him incredibly restless around you. The late-night ping. He texts you when his defenses are low. During the busy hours of the day, he can easily use work, hobbies, and social obligations to distract his mind and keep his feelings safely locked away. However, when the day winds down and the quiet of the night sets in, his willpower begins to erode. This is when you will suddenly receive a text, a funny meme, or a music recommendation from him out of nowhere. The message itself might seem entirely casual or random, but the timing is incredibly deliberate. He is reaching out at a time when loneliness peaks, and his logical guard is at its lowest. By texting you late at night, he is inadvertently admitting that when the noise of the world fades away, you are the absolute first and last person occupying his thoughts. The hero impulse. He looks for any excuse to solve your problems. When a man is trying to fight his feelings, he will often avoid expressing his affection through emotional vulnerability, choosing instead to channel it into physical actions. He will jump at any opportunity to be of service to you, actively looking for problems he can fix or burdens he can lift from your shoulders. Whether you mention a strange noise your car is making, a difficult project at work, or just needing help moving furniture, he will immediately volunteer his time and energy. This behavior triggers his subconscious, desire to feel valuable and essential to your daily life. He wants to prove to you that he is reliable, strong, and capable. By becoming your ultimate problem solver, he gets to experience the closeness of a relationship without having to speak the actual words. The emotional blur. He confides in you deeper than he does with his friends. Men typically guard their deepest insecurities, past hurts, and long-term ambitions very closely, rarely sharing them even with their closest male friends. However, when a man is falling for you against his better judgment, the emotional boundary lines between you will naturally start to blur. During quiet one-on-one conversations, you will find him opening up about his childhood, his secret fears, or his professional stresses with an unexpected level of raw honesty. The magnetic pull. He always finds a reason to be in your physical space. No matter how hard his conscious mind tries to stay away, his physical body simply refuses to cooperate. When you are in a group setting, you will notice that he naturally and consistently gravitates toward your side of the room. If there is an empty seat next to you, he will seamlessly claim it. If you are standing by the food table, he will suddenly discover he is hungry. He will often engineer reasons for brief, casual physical contact, like a lingering high five, a playful nudge, or brushing against your shoulder while walking. This magnetic attraction is completely involuntary. He is losing the battle against his feelings because his subconscious mind craves proximity, drawing him into your personal space like a satellite locked into orbit, completely erasing the boundaries he tries to build. The slip of the tongue. He uses we instead of I when talking about the future. When a man spends all his time secretly imagining a life with you, his internal thoughts will eventually spill over into his external vocabulary. You will catch this happening during casual conversations about upcoming events, movies, or weekend plans. Instead of saying, "I want to see that new film," or "You should try that restaurant," he will accidentally slip up and say, "We should go check that out sometime." This subtle shift from singular to plural language is incredibly telling. It proves that in his mind, you are no longer just an acquaintance or a crush. You are already an essential part of his future. His logical defenses failed to censor his speech, exposing the fact that he already views the two of you as a collective unit. The unspoken tension. The energy in the room completely changes when you enter. You don't always need to see his actions to know he is fighting his feelings. Sometimes you can literally feel it in the air. The moment you walk into a room where he is present, the atmosphere experiences a sudden, palpable shift in energy. If he was laughing loudly with his friends, he might suddenly quiet down, or conversely, he might start talking louder to get your attention. His friends might start glancing between the two of you, offering knowing smiles or subtle nudges, because his internal struggle is obvious to everyone around him. This thick, unspoken tension is the result of his intense, emotional energy colliding with his strict self-restraint, creating an invisible force field of attraction that makes the entire room feel incredibly charged. The defensive wall. He makes excuses for why he isn't ready for a relationship. One of the most ironic signs that a man is losing the battle against his feelings is when he goes out of his way to loudly declare his independence. Out of nowhere, he might bring up the topic of relationships and casually mention how much he loves being single, or how focused he is on his career right now. This hyper-defensive behavior is a classic psychological defense mechanism known as projection. He feels himself falling so hard and so fast for you that it terrifies him, so he builds a verbal wall to protect his heart. By trying to convince you and himself that he isn't looking for love, he is desperately attempting to regain control over emotions that have already completely bypassed his defenses. The final give-in. His actions completely contradict his words. The ultimate proof that a man is fighting a losing battle against his heart is a total disconnect between what he says and what he actually does. He might tell you that he just wants to be friends, but he treats you with the exclusivity, protection, and devotion of a boyfriend. He might claim he is too busy to hang out, yet he will completely rearrange his entire schedule the moment you ask for his help. He can say whatever he wants to guard his pride, but human behavior never lies. When a man's logical mind says, "Stay away," but his daily actions scream, "I need you close," the internal war is officially over. His heart has completely overridden his logic, and it is only a matter of time before he fully surrenders.